Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. We are coming to you from Blue Wire Studios here at the Wynn in Las Vegas. We're out here for Summer League, and Keith and I are here in person again. Love it. We need to figure out a way to make this happen more often because this is great. I know we've been recording remote for like 4 years or something like that, maybe more, and now we actually get to do this in person. And all I can say is this is phenomenal, and we need to do this more.
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's in beyond the recording together is great, but getting to hang out and watch games and do all the stuff we've been doing over the last couple of days is good. 4 days into Vegas, so I'm hot today. I had one of those Vegas mornings this morning, but yeah, everything's been good, man. This is such a great setup. It's been cool to meet a ton of fans of the show. People who have stopped by and watched live while we've been here. People who have come over while I was over at Thomas and Mack yesterday. I had a lot of people come up and say how much they enjoy the show. So we really, really appreciate you guys for all of that. That's awesome and amazing. We love the fan support that we get. Pushing close to the 30K subscribers over on YouTube. So let's get that done. Let's try to finish that up before we wrap up the bulk of the offseason here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? If you see us, we're around the arena, we're around Thomas and Mack, you see us walking through the hotel or something like that, come up and say hi. We're friendly people. So, but we do certainly appreciate everybody who's been watching the show, all the support that we've been getting as the show just keeps growing and growing and growing. But
Trevor charges $20 per selfie. I do them for free, but it's okay if you want to, help him out a little bit.
Yeah, it's the way to fund my Vegas trip.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
That's how I'm doing it.
Well done.
All right, let's get it. Well, I guess first, we're obligated, almost contractually at this point, from the NBA to talk about the in-season tournament because that's what they want everybody. The branding all around Vegas on the in-season tournament, it's unreal. Clearly, the NBA wants to make this a big thing. They just did the group draw.
Yep.
It was maybe not as exciting as a World Cup group draw or something like that, but how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, the tournament itself, I think it's going to be cool. I'm all for new things, right? Everybody bagged on the play-in tournament initially. Nobody really liked it. And then it actually happened, and then people were like, wait, this is great. Like, we love this. So I'm all for it. I'm all for the in-season tournament. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We've talked about it before when it was first pushed as this is going to be a thing. You put something to win in front of really competitive people, they're going to try to win it, right? And they could have made the prize maybe a little bit bigger, $500K per guy. That's really good for the end of roster guys. But for the other guys, we'll see. But for the most part, I think it's really going to be fun. The draw, that's whatever. I get they want to keep it in conferences, right? Because you don't want teams flying all over the place and making a mess of the schedule and all that. And we're going to have to see, because I know in the NBA's official announcements, some things we're going to try to limit back-to-backs for these group games and those sorts of things. So we'll see how that all comes together. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If nothing else, we're going to get a few more good games early in the season where teams are going hard, they're trying to win, and guys are really competing. So I think that's a good thing too.
Well, and when I'm looking at this, I see it, right? The NBA, they put out there that here's the group draw and the, group stages in November, and they get all the details are getting out there. And I go into the comments on social media, which is a dangerous thing to do. I shouldn't have done it. But every comment is so negative. It's just negative. No, we're not going to watch this. We hate this. And all I can think is it's not changing anything.
No.
The only thing because these are all regular season games.
Yep.
It's the normal regular season games. If you don't want to pay attention to the tournament aspect of it, don't pay attention to it and just look at it as a regular season game. The only thing it's doing is it's giving you one extra game, and that's that championship game. That's it. And to me, an extra basketball game is a good thing. Give me more basketball, please. So I'm trying to stay optimistic on this. Even if the tournament winds up being kind of hokey or whatever, it doesn't change anything for my viewing experience. If I don't want to really pay attention to the tournament, I'm not going to pay attention to the tournament. If it works out, great. And if it doesn't, guess what? It'll go away next year.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people on the negative side going to, this guys could get hurt. This could happen. Well, they could get hurt playing in a regular season game anyway. For example, I know Boston and Orlando are in the same group in the group stage. When they play in the group stage, it's one of their regular season games. It counts the same as it would. They're going to double count all those games, as you were saying. So it really doesn't matter to me, that side of it, where guys are going to be, they're going to do what they do anyway. If teams want to load manage, they'll load manage. If they want to play it out, they'll play it out. I think, we got to get out of the mindset of this is not good because it's different, right? Different isn't always bad. And it's going to take a few years for this to really become meaningful before people fully care about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's possible that they never do. That it's certainly
Yeah.
possible. And maybe it'll just go away, or maybe it's a success, like you said, the great example being the play-in tournament. And now that is just, it's a way of life now in the NBA. It's just the way things are. And it's worked out great. So you never know. I'm trying to stay optimistic with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's worth a shot.
I think it's good too. Looks like they're trying to put them on nights where there's no NFL, right?
Yeah,
So
that
you're
helps.
not going head to head with that. They can kind of juice those nights early in the season where, hey, these are regular season, but they count as the group play games too. So yeah, we'll see how that comes together, and the TV branding will be there. And again, the players will eventually care about this. They'll care about it for all different reasons. Like we've talked about it in the past. For a guy like LeBron James who makes that amount per game,
Yeah.
check, it doesn't 500K doesn't mean anything, but he may look at it and be like, hey, that dude at the end of the bench, who that's half his salary for this year, let's go. I'm going to try to win it for him. And that was a big part of the bubble, right? Where a lot of those guys who they're set forever, they were like, it doesn't matter if we play. For these guys, it's important. We got to get in there and make sure these guys are taken care of, when we play. So all around, I think it's going to be good stuff, and I think it'll be just fine.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Bol Bol and that whole situation, because I was surprised that he cleared waivers. I thought his salary was so small that somebody was going to claim him off waivers. I believe it was $2.2 million off the top of my head. So I was surprised that he cleared waivers, but he has. Now he's a free agent, and he's already being linked to, of course, the Phoenix Suns, the Phoenix minimums. I guess we should just start calling them, because they cleaned up with minimum contracts, and we'll talk about them in just a bit. But Bol Bol, should he go to Phoenix? Is that the right move for each side? And what are your thoughts just on him actually clearing waivers?
Yeah, him clearing waivers definitely a surprise, and it caught a lot of people around the league by surprise. And I do wonder do we have a couple teams now that have like almost it's not buyer's remorse because you didn't buy, but like claimer's remorse that you didn't claim him. Because I know there was a handful of teams that were thinking about it and they just didn't go that direction. So that's interesting now, right? That he's available. He's a free agent to go anywhere. My issue with Phoenix for him is he going to get the development time he needs, right? That's the problem. He needs minutes. He needs to be able to go play, be able to play through mistakes. I mean, you're talking about a guy, Orlando said, we can no longer afford the development time for you, right? And the Magic are trying to be a better team and take a step forward this year. So that's a little bit different. But yeah, so that's going to be the thing. But competitive practice environments for him every single day there. Maybe he can play his way into a rotation role. We'll find out. But everything's still so raw with him because it's, there was so much missed time early in his career that he really feels like he's more like a second, third year guy who you're waiting for that full pop to come. And he missed the end of his college, run too. So that's just kind of put his career on a little bit of a different pathway here. And he is such a unique player because he's as big as a center, but he plays like a wing. So that's a whole other thing. So we're going to see where that goes. But Suns, yeah, why not, right? It's, another kind of go and figure it out kind of thing and see where it goes. As you said, it would be for the minimum because that's all they can do. That's all they've really done outside of obviously the Bradley Beal trade. So we'll see how that all comes together.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate the landing spot for him, but I do think there's probably better places he could go. But if the Suns are saying, hey, we're going to use you in our rotation, maybe that's enough. But again, Kevin Durant is 35. Is he at a point where you can lose games or, sacrifice wins in order to get minutes for Bol Bol? Those are two conflicting things. And, we saw that play out with the Warriors, right? They're two timelines at the same, and it didn't really work. This isn't going to be the same, but the Suns are all in on winning. If Bol Bol can't help them with that right away, he's just going to be stuck on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be my guess is we'll see him probably land there. He'll play on the nights when Durant doesn't play and the other guys are out, and then we'll go. And again, we say this all the time, minimum contracts. If it's not working out, you just move on and you move on to the next one.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Keith, there is a trade that we've got to talk about. And sometimes in the NBA, there's these trades that we hear about and then they never really get executed. It seems like it takes forever for them to actually get executed. And what that gives you opportunities to do is change them. And sometimes we see trades get Frankenstein together. And that's what we've got now. The 5-team trade, the Hawks, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and the Thunder. Keith, what do you have on this? What's going on? And yeah, is this dangerous? We've seen in the past where one piece in a big trade like this can undo the whole thing. So why is this happening?
Yeah, so this one's good, right? And that's the benefit of the offseason. There's no rush where the experience you're referencing is from the trade deadline last year, that trade that sent Gary Payton II back to Golden State. James Wiseman ended up in Detroit. And one of the things that happened in the course of business with that trade was, hey, Peyton may not be healthy, right? And the Warriors were like, whoa, hold on. And we were like, oh no, is this all going to get undone? And the problem is at the trade deadline, it just gets undone and you have to rewind it. You can't then put it back together and do something different. Where if something is discovered in season and it falls apart, you can undo it. You can go back and kind of say, all right, let's rework it. Let's tweak it. Let's figure it out. Where's the trade deadline? Trade deadline's passed. It's over. You got to move on. This one's going to go through by, as much as we can tell. It's funny because there's a ton of dudes involved in this. Ultimately, the big one, Dylan Brooks and the ever increasing salary of Dylan Brooks. It's crazy.
He's now at what, 86 million and can't get up to 90?
Can get up to 90. Yeah, it started out at,
holy moly.
I think the initial report was 76 or 78, and then it went up to 80, and now now we're up to 90 potentially. So give it another week, it might be 100. We'll see. He might be the guy who he got lucky out here in Vegas.
That's
right?
What it is.
He's gonna go home rich. But he's kind of the big name, the headliner on this, because what the Grizzlies did was they turned that into a sign and trade. They're going to create a decent sized trade exception for Dylan Brooks. Then they're going to get Josh Christopher back from the Rockets in this trade. The Rockets moving a lot of those guys. This is that we've talked about this multiple times where it sounds great to have 100 draft picks till you have to use them all. Yeah. And the Rockets got in position, 9 guys drafted over the last 3 first rounds. And you can't keep all those guys. So we saw Usman Garuba get moved in this trade. We saw Ty Washington get moved, Josh Christopher, 3 former first-round picks, plus KJ Martin, who was another guy that they drafted and developed through the second round. So we're in a spot where those guys are all going to get moved on to other teams. There's another component to this, which was funny because after this trade came out, people were like, I can't even follow where everybody went. So I tried to put a tweet together. People were like, no, that's wrong. Patty Mills is going to the Hawks and Usman Garuba and Ty Washington are going to go to the Thunder. And I was like, eventually, yes, even though they were just involved in this, but doing the math, it wasn't going to work out. So they're just going to basically turn those guys around, flip them over to the Thunder and take Patty Mills in, who the Rockets acquired earlier from the Nets. So there's a lot of stuff tied up in this. The Thunder, at the end of the day, they're going to cut some good players, or at least potentially good players who have guaranteed contracts, because I think when all's said and done, they're going to be on like 17 or so guaranteed contracts on their books. So somebody's going to get something, or there'll be another trade made down the line where it'll be, hey, we don't want to just cut this guy, or a team's like, we don't want him to hit waivers. We can claim him either through, the ability to claim, or just we've got a trade exception or whatever it is. We'll do this. There's going to be a bunch of trade exceptions made out of this one, but it's just always fun when you get to see, hey, there were a whole bunch of trades out there that we knew were happening. Then it is, let's put them all together, mash them into one big trade, and it all falls out. Yeah, just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah, sure.
You talked about teams having too many draft picks. I believe OKC's count is now 35 picks over the next 7 years.
After that trade with,
unreal. Like that's more than, whether they could throw like 15 picks at somebody if they really wanted to go get a guy. But but they got to do it. Keith, ultimately, this trade, you've seen the movie Christmas Vacation,
sure,
where Clark he hands the big ball of Christmas lights to Rusty and says, "Here, you unravel this." That's this trade. Everything is just jumbled together. And why not just do this stuff? So why do they do this? Why try to Frankenstein this all into one complicated mess?
Yeah, generally what it is it's going to be more beneficial for somebody. Either, hey, we couldn't have matched salary this way, so we can do it this way instead. You'll end up with trade exceptions created that wouldn't have been created otherwise in this situation. So that's going to be what this is really about is, hey, let's create some trade exceptions. Let's put this all together, chain it all together in one big trade and go. It's funny, as I was sitting down and trying to work through the math on why they couldn't just do Mills to Houston. No, I'm sorry, to Atlanta. See, it gets confusing. Yeah. Why they couldn't just do Mills direct to Atlanta and Garuba and Washington direct to OKC, it just would have messed up the salary matching, re-aggregation rules, all that other stuff that happened. So they had to kind of put that one to the side. My guess is we're going to get a release later today that says, oh, that trade has also been completed. This is a good reminder, though. Teams can always do trades in the ways that most beneficial to them. So even if you start looking and you start plugging guys into trade machines, and it's like, wait, that doesn't work, or this guy can't be reaggregated, or whatever it is, you can always break it up into, on one side it's actually 2 different trades, on another side it's 3 trades. So that's how you can put this together. But there's going to be a little bit of that going on between this one and then the one that's to come after this.
That's a good point. So there's some times where even if it's just a 2-team trade, let's say it's a 2-team trade, 6 players, 3 players from each side, we will look at that as 3 for 3. But the way that's executed, it might be 2 for 1 going this way, and then 2 for 1 going the other way. The way the teams actually put it through the league may not be the way that most people look at the trade and just say, okay, it's these 3 players for these three players, and they'll do that for various reasons. So that's part of this whole conversation too.
Yeah, and for the vast majority of purposes, it's fine to look at it the way it's reported, right? Because that's really what matters, is who's going where and how's that coming together. That's all that 99% of the people care about. It's the nerds like us who are like, all right, what are the details? What's the cap math on this? That's where it gets to. But we've probably spent a lot of time on a 5-team trade that features probably one guy who's going to play a lot next year. So we can move on to the next one.
Let's do it. Chris Livingston was somebody we want to talk about. Last pick of the draft, 58th pick this year, because a couple of picks got burned due to teams, getting in a little bit of trouble. So instead of 60 picks, there are 58 picks in this year's draft. Chris Livingston does get a full deal with the Bucks. So what are your thoughts on that contract, and kind of something we heard around draft time, like that this was going to happen?
Yeah, there was a lot of reporting at the draft of the guys were telling them, hey, stay away. Don't go to Chris Livingston. Don't draft him. We want him in Milwaukee. Don't pick him. Don't pick him. He lands in Milwaukee. It's rare now. Generally, those guys 45 and back in the draft, those are 2-way players. Those are guys who are getting signed to other stuff. What we saw with this one is he's getting that 2nd-round pick exception. So that's really cool that he's going to get that. And that's really neat to see how that comes together there. We may see changes within that over the next several years, with teams valuing that back half of the 2nd round more. The advent of the 3rd 2-way, and then you have, now the 2nd-round pick exception. We've seen a couple guys in that 45 to 58 range this year, normally 45 to 60. That got those full contracts. So we're going to see, how teams really put that together. And then do we go back to when the 2-way first came in several years ago? It was all undrafted guys who got those. Now we'll find out, is this going to change into being different? Is it going to be, oh yeah, we're drafting guys in the back half of the 2nd round, and more of them are going to get 2-ways? Does it go back to being the undrafted guys because you have this 2nd-round pick exception? It's going to be fun to watch that play out. But good work by the agency, right? You got him where you wanted him. You got him the full 2nd-round pick exception deal, and now it moves forward from there. So,
and because there's more contractual flexibility with 2nd-round picks, we see more of this where agents are able to steer their clients towards certain teams more so than say in the 1st round. They certainly try to do it with the 1st round as well. And part of it too is because it's the 2nd round, teams aren't going to quite put up as much of a fight. Whereas if it's the 5th pick and a guy's saying, well, I don't want to go to this team. Look, it still happens, but teams are more prone to just, put their foot down and say, no, we really want this guy and take him. Steph Curry to the Warriors being an example of that. He was trying to get somewhere else and ultimately wound up there. But in the 2nd round, because, some teams will call a player and say, hey, would you take a 2-way contract with us if we pick you with the 50th pick? Guy says nope, because he's already got a team he wants to go to when he's an undrafted free agent or whatever. So you do have a little bit more flexibility in the 2nd round in that regard.
Yeah, and some of these guys would rather come through on a undrafted contract, take a camp shot, and have that freedom than locking into a 2-way. Where it's, hey, I feel like my best shot at a real roster spot is with Team X. I'd rather go there through the undrafted route. But every once in a while, because there's still something we said, you were drafted and those kind of things. So you do see those come together too. I think what's also interesting is, when this all gets kind of pieced together in the end, is how teams will play that game through the draft process, like you were saying, does that start to bleed more and more into the first round? Where teams are really pushing, hey, my guy does not want to go there. We'd rather be a second round pick. That's probably pretty rare because first round, I know everybody kind of says, well, would you rather have freedom than have to sign a rookie scale somewhere where you don't want to be? Yeah, you'd probably still rather rookie scale. It's probably going to pay you double, if you think you're good, and, you kind of go from there. But yeah, we haven't seen, it's been quite a while. We haven't really seen like and I'm going back a ways, but the Eli Manning situation where it's like Chargers do not draft him.
Right.
That's going to be a mess for you if you do it. We have not seen that.
Right. All right. One of the things that we want to get into in today's show to close things out, it's our best contracts of free agency. So we're going to get into our 5, and maybe there's an honorable mention at the end here too, but our 5 best contracts of the summer. Let's kick things off. Keith, we've got Herb Jones, Austin Reeves kind of tying here with these early bird deals, 4 years in the $54-ish million range. Both of these being incredible value contracts.
Yeah, for what these two guys are, this is essentially, if you really want to call it this, it's essentially a 4-year mid-level deal, which is great, right? And that's awesome for the teams. Now, Jones is a little more team-friendly because it's 4 years, guaranteed, locked him to the team. Austin Reeves is a little more player-friendly because he got the player option on his. So he's going to end up in a spot where he can control things a little bit after 3 years. My guess is his trajectory keeps going. 3 years from now, we're talking about he's opting out and signing a new big contract somewhere probably with the Lakers if all goes the way everybody hopes. So, but for the same money, it's hard to find any better value than the two deals those two guys signed because they are really in a great place. Their teams got them for, again, really good numbers where you feel really good about those, on those early bird deals. So, yeah, it just great work. Jones is an all defense level guy. Reeves is a guy who just was great in the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, and was one of the Lakers' more consistent guys throughout the entire, even before the playoff run. I mean, really the second half of the season on, he was there the whole time. So, great work. And get these guys at the mid-level, come on. That's a winner of a deal.
What amazes me, too, is that both of these guys are an example of how success pays. I mean, these guys, you've got Herb Jones was a second-round pick, Austin Reeves, undrafted, and now they are both making more money than the number 1 overall pick from their draft class in Cade Cunningham, which is amazing. And look, I'm not saying they should necessarily make more than Cade or Cade shouldn't or anything like that. It's more a commentary of how these guys have found a path into this payday and into these roles with their respective teams through their success, through their own hard work. You wouldn't normally project a second-round pick, undrafted guy to do this. And so it's a credit to them.
Yeah, and important to remember, too, these guys entered the league in an uncertain time because we were coming out of all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
As these guys came in, and everybody's kind of like, where's this going to go? And they ended up doing different things, right? Where Austin Reeves' path in was, I'm going to come in on a 2-way and then eventually move over to a regular contract. Jones, straight second-round pick. And, hey, hopefully I'll play well enough to get in the rotation. And both of them worked, right? And well-earned for these two guys to earn these contracts. Absolutely huge.
All right, let's move to the next one. We've got Bruce Brown with the Indiana Pacers. When this first came out, I went, whoa, Indiana spent a lot of money. And then it came out that the second year it's not really there. It's a 1-year, $22 million deal. So
functionally, yeah, that second year is a team option for $23 million. So the Pacers, if it all goes extremely poorly, they're just out of it after a year, done. Right? And but for the most part, they're fine, right? To me, this is really good fit on a team that's trying to be better next year. So why not give him the bigger contract and kind of go all in? Did they overpay? Yeah, probably a little bit, but it's still a really good contract, for Bruce Brown. He was always going to get, we talked about it leading up to free agency. It was like, man, I don't know how the Nuggets are going to pull it off. He's going to have to really, be cool with, this is just where I want to be, because it was like, he's going to get the MLE. Then it was like 2 weeks out from free agency. It's like, nope, he's got even more than that. The finals ends, and it's like, yeah, it's going to push probably 15, 16 million. Ultimately, he gets 22 in the first year. And if you're the Pacers, two things. My new favorite thing, you got to spend the money to get to the floor.
Correct.
My second thing with it, though, is sometimes if you're that mid-market team, you have to overpay a little bit. to get a guy there, and that's what they did. And no problem at all with what Indiana did.
The overpay here is mitigated by the team option on the
Correct.
second year, because you can get out of it if you need to. Had they not done that, this contract wouldn't be on this list. But
No, yeah, it'd be a
because
little,
they did that.
it'd be further down for sure.
All right, let's go. Cam Johnson, 4 years, $108 million. I like Cam Johnson a lot, and Keith, a lot of incentives in this contract as well, and that certainly helps. But I like this deal, especially when we compare him to his peers, like what Kyle Kuzma got and players like that. I think the Nets did great here.
Yeah, I mean, and he was a huge part of the KD trade, right? It was, they got 1 million picks, they got Mikal Bridges, but it was also getting Cam Johnson. And the Nets made it very clear to everybody, hey, unless you get really silly, we're keeping him, right? We're not going to let him go. And then when we find out after that, because, right, you hear $27 million a year, that's like, okay, that's a lot of money. But then when you find out, oh, there's a lot of incentives in there, the structure is, very friendly to the Nets as well, it starts to become an even better contract. And this is a guy who's really blossomed over the last couple of years. He's going to play a huge role on that Nets team. It's really right now, it's his and Bridges' team moving forward. Like that's where this thing is going in Brooklyn. And we'll see what those draft picks come into, what they do with the rest of the guys that they get. But this is one of those ones where, as the details come out, and we say this every year, don't get too wrapped up in the initial. And then we fail at it every year.
Right.
Where we're like, oh my God. But it's, as the details come out, it starts to feel even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you look at it from the team perspective, because the initial bit that's going to come out is usually coming from the agent, and they're going to want to put everything out there in a positive spin. So they'll include incentives, they'll include to make the deal sound as big as they possibly can.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the number 4 here on our list. We've got kind of a tie here. Gabe Vincent and Dennis Schroeder, both on MLE deals effectively. Schroeder getting 2 years, $26 million. Gabe Vincent getting 3 years, $33 million. Both guys obviously connected to the Lakers here.
I might have done that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What did you think about these contracts? Why did you think that these ones are so good?
Just great values for 2 really good players at positions of need for those 2 teams, right? You could have flipped this to Dennis Schroeder just stays in LA and it still would have been fine. But the Raptors, if we start with Schroeder, they really needed a point guard, because after Fred VanVleet left, after Delano Banton left, they were left with Malachi Flynn, who just hasn't developed the way they hoped he would as a former first-round pick. They needed another point guard badly. So what ended up happening here with Dennis Schroeder comes in, and he's just a great fit for them, right? You just kind of keep things moving. He'll come in. It's a 2-year deal, so it's not a long-term commitment. There's no super huge salary here. It'll be 12-ish million this year, 13-ish million next year, and that's how we'll get up to the 26 million. Very tradable if they need to, because still feels like something maybe is going to happen with that team. Mm-hmm. We don't know. Nothing has as of yet, and maybe we're all just waiting on nothing, right? It's starting to feel that way. But I think that's a really solid value deal for the Raptors.
Yeah, agreed. I thought Schroeder was one of the better backup point guards in the NBA last season. He can fill in as a starter in a pinch, and of course, he'll get a big role there in Toronto. He's
not ever going to recoup the bag, right? That's never coming back around.
No.
But played himself off a minimum, right? He went to Boston on that taxpayer MLE a couple years ago, dropped down to a minimum. And this is why, if you're young enough, taking a minimum contract in a good spot can rehab your value. I know you guys over on Lakers Nation talked about Christian Wood a lot. That could be the path for him, right? Land in the best spot, recoup your value, play yourself up to being something better, and then we'll see where it comes for you down the line. We'll see if that goes. That obviously worked well for Dennis Schroeder here, because took the minimum deal, played really well with the Lakers, and goes. And that sometimes too, go to the bigger in front of your face team. Yeah. And that sometimes works out even better for you there. So that's big. Now, Gabe Vincent flipped Schroeder, leaving Vincent. It all kind of happened together simultaneously. But Gabe Vincent becomes a position of need for the Lakers, and you needed somebody, a little bit of stability at that position. Austin Reeves can play point guard, but kind of combo guard. D'Angelo Russell back in the full combo guard, right? You needed one more guy who's probably a little bit more of an on-ball guy in Vincent. We'll find out, does he start? Does he come off the bench? That'll all sort itself out here, over the coming months. But I think it's, again, just a good value deal, right? And this is one of those, nice mid-range contracts too. If you want to do something tradable
Sure.
down the line, it's there. This contract will hold its value all the way through. Probably played a little over his head in the playoffs, but he had been good before that. It's not like he was just burst onto the scene, it was nothing. It's this is not the old Jerome Jordan. I'm going to throw way back to the Supersonics days, where then the Knicks gave him that monster contract off one playoff run. That was not what this was, right? He played really well and played well all season long.
It was Jerome James.
Jerome James, sorry.
Yep.
Not Jerome Jordan. Yeah, you're correct. Good call. Yeah, so that is but that's a good one, right? You get Vincent in there, really proving himself to be a starting level guy, but also can be very good coming off the bench. And I think this gives Darvin Ham, this combined with all the other moves, a lot of optionality with the roster. He can play a lot of different ways now. It's there's a lot of different things they can do. Probably not done yet. Still have a couple open roster spots. We'll see how those come together. But yeah, I like that one quite a bit for the Lakers.
Well, and what I heard was that the Lakers, and I can't confirm that like the Lakers would have given this offer to Dennis Schroeder or anything like that. But what I heard was that they decided that they preferred Gabe Vincent on this deal over Schroeder. And again, I can't say Schroeder's side would have accepted or what that would have looked like, but and part of that being that this is slightly below the mid-level exception, which actually gives them a little bit of money to potentially play with on the buyout market in March. So that's a factor here too.
And important to know, in the CBA, those prorated whatever's left of an exception, they used to start to prorate down in the middle of January. Now it's the beginning part of March. So you get all the way through the trade deadline in the first part of buyout season. Yep. My guess is you're going to see them just hold that unless they did something nonsensical, which would be absolutely hilarious if they use that to sign Maxwell Lewis. With the Pelinka rule now a thing, but I'm guessing that didn't happen. But that's right. Yeah, hold on to that $2 million to go. Now, it's important to know if they end up, we'll see where everything falls out, and if they make other trades. There's a lot of things on buyout guys. If you end up a super tax team, Lakers are far clear enough of that I don't think they're going to get that high. They'll be in the tax. Probably by the time all is said and done. But yeah, we're going to be in a spot where you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff, and having that little bit of the exception left is probably going to work out quite well.
All right, let's move on to our last guy. It's Javon Carter, one of my very favorites. Lands with the Chicago Bulls. They need somebody. Lonzo Ball already out for the year. Yep. Unfortunately, I sure hope he can come back at some point, but that's looking like it's questionable. But nonetheless, Javon Carter, a great 3-and-D point guard, was with the Bucks, and he was on a minimum, and now gets a 3-year, $20 million deal with the Bulls. I like not just the value on the contract, but the fit. Javon Carter is not Lonzo Ball, but the defense of Lonzo Ball was something that they were greatly missing. And Javon Carter, he's not the same player, but he at least replicates the defensive capabilities there and still gives you the floor spacing because he was a better than 40% three-point shooter.
That's the key part, that last part. He can really shoot. And this is a team that runs a lot of their offense through DeMar DeRozan, through Zach LaVine. So whoever is playing the guard spot needs to be able to shoot. They need to be able to step up and make jump shots playing off the ball. Carter's done that his entire career, right? He's been kind of the off-ball guy, but that defense that he's going to add there, $7 million a year roughly on this. This one was really funny. We laughed about this at the time. We talked about it that night that this report broke because it was, it's this much. And then another report came in, it was a little under, and it's like, oh, we're playing incentive game in the reporting here. So we'll find out. But 3 years, 20 is probably ultimately where this will about land. So under $7 million a year, that's roughly room exception kind of money. That's really good, for Javon Carter with the Bulls. So I think that's going to really fit in well there. To your point, no Lonzo. They already applied for the disabled player exception, so we know that means they don't think he's going to play this year. We'll see. Does that turn into the medical retirement and the money comes off the books entirely? We'll find out. But as of right now, we're not there. It sounds like he's going to rehab, go after it for one more year. But yeah, Javon Carter coming in, re-signing Kobe White to a pretty fair deal as well. We'll see where does this leave Ayo Dosunmu. He's kind of hanging out there as a restricted free agent. My guess is we're getting down to just sign the qualifying offer, come back, we'll sort through the guard rotation and figure it out there because Alex Caruso, another guy who could play at the one a lot, especially defensively. So, in a really good spot. So, it's going to be fun to watch that whole mix play out. But, Javon Carter, absolute steal of a deal for the Bulls.
And our honorable mention here, the Suns. I've been trying to figure out if I can, bad pun this together and turn it into like the Minisuns, the minimums, all their minimum contract. It's a little bit awkward. I'll workshop it.
We'll figure it out. Somebody drop in the comments what you think it could be.
Yeah. So Son of Mums? I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Son of Mums sounds like an off-brand breakfast cereal.
It does. It does.
That's like did you ever get like all the other kids at school were getting like Lucky Charms and that, and you were getting like Lucky Oats or whatever it was, and it's
right.
like these aren't the same, and they tasted like sawdust in a box. Like, yeah, we lived that way at my grandmother's house for a while. Because she was like, it's the same, and it wasn't like she was just cheap. It was like, oh, that's on sale, get it. And it wasn't like it's like get 100 boxes because it's on sale. And then I was like, well, this is what we're eating the entire school year is these Son of Mums.
Yeah, you buy them in bulk. It's the off-brand cinnamon rolls that you can get.
Yeah, that's it.
Somehow we wound up here. But the Suns, their minimum contracts. They've obviously they made use. It's all they had, but they really made use of these minimum deals. They went after them aggressively. We saw them start to give the second-year player option, which has been more in vogue this summer, using that as a way to give guys a little bit of security in case they have some type of catastrophic injury or something like that. But getting the guys they did on minimum deals, I thought they did a really nice job. I'm sure you have your favorites. I thought Yuta Watanabe was the guy that I thought was an amazing get on that deal to fit into that Sun system. Yeah,
they were all really good pickups, almost across the board. There wasn't even one where it was like, all right, I get it. It's a minimum, whatever. They were all good and probably needed, right? Guys who are going to play real rotation minutes. Eric Gordon's obviously the big name, right, that everybody knows because he's been around. He's been playing for years and years. So I think, that was a good one. I really like the Drew Eubanks pickup for them. I think, he's going to play a big role on that team, especially if they end up trading DeAndre Ayton down the line. That turns into, we got to do something to break that contract up into 2-3 players because we need depth or whatever it is that they feel they need down the line. We'll see how that comes together. But yeah, I think all around, great work by them. Yeah, Eubanks, Gordon, Watanabe, getting Damian Lee back, another knockdown shooter. When you have the stars, just put shooting around him, right? That's all you can do, shooting and defense and rebounding. And they accomplished quite a bit of that. So, really well done by Phoenix to do that. That's why we wanted to kind of group them all in there, throw them in there as honorable mentions, because those are great contracts for all those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Eric Gordon really stands out as a big one. But even before they got him, I liked a lot of the moves that they made. And maybe Bol Bol will be added to this list as well.
Yeah, we'll and that becomes kind of your developmental minimum guy, right? Where it's, we'll work with him, through the rest of the year. Because that's one thing this team doesn't have is they've got him and now Tumani Kamara, who actually played pretty well in Summer League the other night. He is their kind of other developmental type guy at the back of the roster if Bol ends up landing there. So we'll see how that all comes together.
All right. Well, that's about it for our show today. We do appreciate everybody for joining us. Of course, if you see us out and around at the arena or just in the casino or wherever, come say hi. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten out here in Las Vegas at Summer League. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're watching over on the YouTube channel, make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show there. Don't forget to turn on those notifications. And then over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to podcasts, you can follow us there as well. In fact, do both. Follow us both places. Thank you again.
And tell a friend.
Yes. Yep.
Tell a friend.
We want to get rid of that best kept secret.
Yeah, that's not a
we
good
don't want to do that
anymore.
No.
And it's funny how many people came up and they're like, I'll tell some people, like, but you guys are the best kept secret. I'm like, no more best kept secret. I was like, go away. If you say that to Trevor, picture price goes up to $30
that's
per
right.
photo.
That's right. We got to.
Have to.
Yep.
Yeah, because if we're the best kept secret, we gotta rake it in somehow.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.